皆さん、また来てくださってありがとうございます。こちらはマンハッタンニューヨーク日曜日の朝です。ということでね、昨日トランプさんが暗殺未遂にあって、ちょっとショックすぎて、安倍さんの時も何ヶ月もショックであげられなかったんですけど、今回もやっぱりちょっとショックでちょっと眠れなくって、それはなぜかというと、私ちょうど今ね、4人の起業家がトランプさんに次期政権で何をするかっていうのを忌憚なく聞いてて、そこで Jfk ファイルのこともディープステートのこともおっしゃってるんですよ。で、その Jfk ファイルっていうのは、この JFK 暗殺に関する情報がバーッと詰まったファイルなんですね。で、これ50年間機密にされてきたんですよ。で、今になって本当にいろいろなところからちょっと漏れ出してきてて、 CIA がやったんじゃないかとか、FBI が絡んでるんじゃないかっていう、ただのアンポンタンのアクティビストがやったんじゃなくって、その後ろに官僚がいるっていうことがバーって出だしたんですね。で、それに関してこの4人が聞いてるんですよ。どうして2017年最初の政権の時に公開するべきものをあなた公開しなかったんですかって聞いてるんですね。で、今RFK ジュニアとかが言ってるみたいに JFK は CIA とか FBI が絡んでるんですかって直接聞いてるんですよ。で、直接は手を下してないけど後ろにいることは確かだねみたいな感じで言ってるんですね。で、大丈夫と思ったんですよ、私それを訳した時に。で、大丈夫次期政権では全部を公開するからって、事細かくもう何も隠すことなく全部出すから、やっぱりこれは国民みんなで学んで乗り越えていかなきゃいけないことだからみたいな感じで言ってるから、ただすごく止められたと、自分は止められて、いやまだちょっともうちょっと待ってくれっていうふうに言われて、その人たちを信用してたから一部だけ隠したと。全部を公開しなかったけど次の政権では全部出すと言ってたから、いや大丈夫かなと思ったんですよ。だって CIA が JFK を殺したとしたらそういうことする機関ですよね、ここだから。それでこんな感じになったから、本当にちょっとショッキングなんですけど、とりあえずね、私の感覚でおかしいなと思ったのは、ラリーに行った時っていうのは、常にトランプさんのラリー会場っていうのは、上空には普通の大きなヘリが3機とかドローンが3機とかすごくたくさん飛んでるんですね。それなのに何も取れなかったのおかしいなって思ったんですよ。ペンシルバニアだけ何もいなかったのかなとかっていうのが私の感想でした。ということで今日の動画見てください。どうぞ。
Trump, do you think that Fauci and our government funded gain of function research? And do you think we should really be pursuing the investigation deeply into that? And if we did fund gain of function research, what does that say about our government and taking ownership of it? Because a lot of us lost a lot of years, kids didn't go to school, and it caused economic damage. As you pointed out earlier, the amount of money you had to spend to try to avoid a depression was really severe. And if we funded that, what does that make you think about our government? And then Fauci covering it up, if that is in fact true, what does that make you think about our government?
So if you remember, I'm the one that stopped it. And I stopped it maybe for a lucky reason or an unusual reason. I said, why are we paying money to China? It wasn't about gain of function or anything else. It was, why are we paying money to China? China's got a lot of money, and they're doing fine. We're considered like, they want us to consider them a growing nation, a nation in distress, all sorts of things, because they always take advantage of every treaty by saying that they need, they're an improving nation. I heard the other day they have all different terms for changing, but they're a growing nation. Well, we're a growing nation too. I was the one that stopped that. The Fauci thing is an interesting phenomena. I was not a big fan of his. As you know, he said, no, let everybody come in from China. I overrode him on that. I overrode him on a lot. But he wanted the people from China. When I heard about this, I stopped it. We had a room loaded up with people, and nobody could even believe it. But I stopped it. We would have lost hundreds of thousands of people more, maybe more, much more, maybe over the millions, but hundreds of thousands of people more had I not stopped people coming in from China.
Did he lie to you about the origin of COVID?
Well, I've always said the origin was, where it came from, where it originally came from was the Wuhan lab. I happen to think it escaped from the Wuhan lab. I mean, I don't believe it came from the bats in 2,000 miles away caves. I don't believe it came from other countries, as China tried to convince people it did. I thought it should have been called the China virus because it was a very much more accurate term than...
But did Fauci lie to you, I guess, is what the American people want to know. Did Fauci lie to you? And if he did, should he be prosecuted?
I don't think you have to understand, Fauci was a much bigger factor in the Biden administration than he was in the Trump administration. I didn't rely on him that much because I didn't trust him. I would say got along with him, fine, not really, but I didn't trust him. Money to China, it was strange. They should pay us money. We shouldn't pay them money. One of the things I can tell you, the World Health Organization, so we pay them almost $500 million. And China pays them $39 million. And so I got out of the World Health Organization. They did absolutely nothing. They called it totally wrong. I got out. They called me and they said, we'll do anything to keep you in, anything. I said, well, why are they paying $39 million? We're paying almost $500 million. And they said, well, we'll work out a deal where you can pay much less. I said, well, now you're starting to talk. But even that, it was very popular when I got out. It was politically, it would have been very hard to go back in. People were thrilled that I got out. I could have made a deal to go in for $39 million. They offered me a deal to go in for $39 million, and I actually turned it down. I said, it should be if you look at, we're at 350 million and they're 1.4 billion people, right? So it should have been 25% or less than that, but I didn't want to quibble. Then a horrible, horrible election which helped destroy our country took place in 2020. And they went back in, and they're paying more than $500 million. And they knew I could have made a deal. Now, it's a lot of money, not when you talk about the world, but it's still a lot of money. But it shows you the stupidity of the whole thing. They could have made a deal for $39 million. Instead, they're paying much more than they paid even before. And that's the way the mindset of our country is. And here's the big part. China totally controls the WHO. China totally controls them. We have very little control over them. And now they want to give control over our whole country to them, which would be a terrible mistake.
Fauci brings up sort of the kind of deep state personality that you talked about in 2016 that's kind of like riddled all over the government. How much progress do you think you made, and what do you want to do if you become president in November? And do you have goals around the deep state this time around? And what are they?
Well, I have a lot of things. I mean, I did a lot of things at the FBI. I fired a lot of their top people, including Comey, who's terrible at what he did, a terrible person and terrible at what he did. I fired McCabe, and, I don't have to go through Lisa and Strzok, all of the lovers. And I fired a whole group of people. I got rid of them. And so many of the agents are so incredible in the FBI down below. But we got rid of a lot. You take a look at the World Health again. We got out of the World Health. We got out of this is a similar thing that, this is really similar to your answer, but we got out of the World Health Organization, which was a tremendous thing. We got rid of the Paris Accord. The Paris Accord was a disaster for us. We were going to pay $1 trillion, and other countries were paying nothing. Russia was paying nothing. China was paying nothing. It didn't even kick in for China until 2030, whereas with us, it kicked in immediately. So I got rid of the Paris Accord. I did a lot of things having to do with not only people, but tremendous amounts of money, because the Paris Accord was so unfair. And I said, when I do this, people are not going to like it, but I have to do it because it's right. People loved it. The public understood it. They loved it. And now they've gone back into the Paris Accord at the same terms and even worse than the terms I got out. It's really a shame. It's so many things. It's so sad to see so many things. I mean, the WHO, the Paris Accord, you take a look at these things, they could have gone back. If they wanted to go back, if they had it, they could have gone back for a fraction of what they were doing. And they're very unfair to the United States. We're like a lapdog for every other country.